Good day, fellow Jersey nerds, and welcome to episode 61 of the Jersey Nerds podcast, powered by hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. I'm your host, Ryan, and today on the Nerdcast, we're going to be talking about the 2019 KHL All-Star jerseys, which came out this past week, and we're going to be getting into the 2019 World Junior Championship jerseys. It's a templated mess this year, but we're going to dig through that mess and try and find some positives. And as always, we want to get you guys involved in whatever we're talking about. Contact us on Twitter at HockeyJC, or you can email the podcast anytime, podcast@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. Joining us this week is Shawn. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you what, Ryan, I am representing Toronto's most beloved hockey franchise. That's right, the Toronto Roadrunners.
Hell of a franchise. The one solid year here in Toronto.
Fun fact, their mascot, we'll call him Roadrunner, he came to my hockey skills camp over the March break.
What a treat. What a treat that would have been.
He was a lot better than Carlton, let me tell you.
That was 2003, was it not?
Yes, that was 2003, 2004. One season as Edmonton's farm team.
And then they said, fuck this, we're going to Edmonton. And they literally went to Edmonton. And they just kept the jerseys and everything, except said Edmonton instead of Toronto. I remember.
Really weird logo.
Yeah, that's true.
Gear in front of an angry Roadrunner head instead of the classic, basically the Roadrunner logo every Roadrunner team has had, including Tucson right now.
That's true. That's true. There's one thing, when I think of birds running across the road, I think of mechanics. It's just obvious. I remember doing a tour of what was the Ricoh Coliseum at the time, and they were about 5 days away from their home opener, and the building renovations were still not complete. So they had thousands of people walking around this building doing a tour, and there was still construction going on. It was a really positive sign, and very, very fitting end for the Toronto Roadrunners, lasting the 1 year in Toronto. Also joining us this week on the Jersey Nerds podcast is Corey. What's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. I'm happy I finally got a chance to get on the podcast. I mean, I was on a few months ago before I was on with the writers, but it's good to finally be on as an official member of HJC.
So is there anything you want to let the listeners know about? I mean, we all know Shawn's from Eastern Canada, and we got TC. Whenever he's on the podcast, people know him as the southern guy. What's your thing? What guy are you on the podcast?
I mean, I'm the resident Habs fan. Oh. I lived in Montreal. I know that might not be a popular decision with you, but I lived in Montreal for the first 12 years of my life, and now I just live in the Toronto area in Oakville, actually. So, it's pretty interesting being a Habs fan in Toronto, but
there's enough of them.
I don't know. You find that it's not as Toronto centric as maybe the media makes it out to be here, but definitely. I didn't receive as much hate as I thought I would when I moved here.
You're also a jersey collection guy. Let everyone know how many jerseys you have in your collection.
I have currently, I think it's 171.
That's a quality jersey collection. You can go the whole year. What are we looking at? You're going at least 5 months, nearly 6 months of wearing a new jersey every day if you did that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I wear different jerseys, sometimes two in the same day, and I wear every jersey too. I know some people that have them just to have them, but I've worn all of them multiple times, so it's not like I just buy them to collect dust or anything like that.
That's kind of a good question. I've always thought to myself, would I get... I'm really interested in kind of more rare game used or team issued jerseys, which obviously takes a huge chunk out of my wallet. But I've always had the idea, if it was rare, like I'm talking the Islanders fisherman jersey, but it wasn't wearable, like it wasn't my size. Is it worth getting? I don't know where you sit on that, Shawn. But if something isn't wearable but is desirable, is it worth putting in your collection?
I don't know. I mean, there are a couple jerseys I sort of refuse to wear in my collection. Some of them out of fear of getting them dirty. But I know that, game warns I wouldn't wear. I'll stick that in a shadow box. And other times, I don't know, I went through a phase where I wanted to get one of every team. And I sort of scrapped that because, frankly, unless I get like a game-worn white Lady Liberty jersey, I'm probably never going to have a Rangers jersey in my collection. Sorry, TC.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I like the game-issued jerseys, the team-issued game-used jerseys so much that I've come close to buying one that's not my size that I would never wear, but it would definitely be a collection piece, and it would have to be something I would maybe consider with like a Fisherman or a Wild Wing jersey or something like that. But we're here, we're accounted for. This may be, outside of Shawn and I just doing a podcast, the first all Canadian podcast we've done as far as the Jersey Nerds podcast goes. So get your donuts out, and let's do this.
I've actually got
All right, we're going to be talking about the KHL All-Star jerseys. This is for the 2019 game. They were released this past week. 4 jerseys for their 4 divisions. We got a red one, a black one, a green one, and a white one. They very closely resemble, I would say, Colorado's Stadium Series jersey, except they have a pretty standard edge-style collar. But we have a big tricep area with a big broad line underneath. And they are all matching the color of the, I'm going to say this wrong, Tatarstan flag, which has the colors of green and red in it. But the thing that sticks out for me on this jersey is the event logo, which is the primary logo on all 4 jerseys. Shawn, we'll start with you and just the one thing that sticks out to you or is the biggest positive about these jerseys.
I'll be honest, I think it's using the event logo as the primary logo.
Agreed.
You know, these jerseys are very simple enough. It's good striping. They're all very colorful. But again, when you use the event logo as the primary logo, you take away from having to work with recoloring things and coming up with special logos and all that. And all the colors for the game, you don't have to worry about because they're going to be in the logo regardless.
Corey, how about you? What's the best part about these jerseys?
Again, I think that using the logo, the event logo as the primary logo is a really good call. I find with a lot of the NHL All-Star jerseys that they kind of tend to be pretty uninspired. And you're going to get an NHL shield on the front of it, where this one, it kind of stands out. And the detail in the logo, too, is just great. Like, I don't know if I've seen an all-star jersey in any league in a long time look as good as these do.
Yeah, I mean, behind the scenes, I guess the KHL is kind of known as kind of slapping things together, but this logo definitely does not come across like that. Very detailed. I'm not familiar with so it's the Kremlin on the logo, which is located in the town that the All-Star game emanates from. But just the kind of the detail there, it's simplified, but at the same time, there's a lot of detail, and it's just a really strong logo, and really glad they featured it as the primary crest. Another thing that I think these jerseys does well is the white team is using white pants and white gloves, but to me, it looks like a proper uniform. It doesn't look silly. It doesn't look goofy, but I think it all works really well. I don't know if anything else pops out about these jerseys to you, Shawn.
Yeah, I have to sort of carry on with what you said about the gear because it applies to all the jerseys. And this, compared to last year's All-Star jerseys, where the Western Conference definitely looked better than the East in every way, shape, and form, where the West, you had black jersey, black gear, helmets, pants, all that. You had it black. And then for the Pacific, you had all white. And it looked solid. And then you went over to the East, and the Metropolitan Division has, gray and yellow and black, and everywhere else in the Atlantic's wearing white helmets. No, everything is kept in line here, and that's really important, I think, because it means that you can put the whole kit together instead of it just being the jersey and then it gets cut off by a different colored glove or pant or whatever.
How about you, Corey? Anything else?
Yeah, basically what Shawn said. And I'm honestly surprised that the gear works as well as it does. There's no like hem striping or anything, but yet the jersey matching the pants doesn't look out of place. Everything is just really well executed. Like you said, it doesn't seem like this was thrown together last minute by the KHL. It seems like everything was thought out really well, and the final product just looks amazing.
I really also like the numbers on the back, and they have the star pattern kind of fading down. It's a little bit kind of soccer style, but at the same time, it totally works for these All-Star jerseys. And another thing, I think, when you're using a red, white, green color scheme, you can kind of fall into this trap of unintentionally making a Christmas jersey, and I definitely do not think that has happened here with these jerseys. Shawn, have they made Christmas jerseys? Or I think with the logo and just the way the colors are laid out, they've made a really well-balanced jersey set here.
No, probably the closest one to a quote-unquote Christmas jersey is the green one, and that's very loose. I mean, again, swap the red and the white, and you got a pure Christmas jersey there. I'd say maybe the closest thing you have to anything resembling anything is the red jersey is very, think like Bulgaria, Belarus, Hungary. Like, you could totally see one of those teams grabbing that up as their national jersey. But, again, it's like having a red, white, and blue color scheme. I mean, someone will say you look American. So, there's nothing here to me that says anything is going to be. Think of like 2004. Those jerseys were pretty Christmassy, even though they were just one color in cream. Or think of Minnesota's pre-edge alternate, where you had a little bit more green than the regular jersey.
How about you, Corey? Any final positives on these jerseys? Namely, maybe even the numbers, or if these encroach on kind of Christmas-like jerseys.
No, it definitely doesn't look like a Christmas jersey. I think if maybe they used more of a forest green than the shade of green they did, it might look more Christmassy. But I think they spaced out the colors properly, that it doesn't come across as Christmassy. I would really like other leagues to kind of look at doing designs more based on this, because if shipping from Russia wasn't so expensive, I probably would want to add one of these to my collection.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine what shipping one of these in would be. And who knows, again, I find one of the things you run into with international retail sales of the jerseys is they're just sublimated and no patches. So
they are.
Yeah. That would be.
In fact, I looked at getting some KHL jerseys a couple of years ago in my collection, and they were completely sublimated.
All sublimated, yeah, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's a decent quality, but you got to have the feel of and the look of the patches on there. I guess we got to dig around for some negatives here on this, and I can't find too many. I think the only thing that really is a negative for me, I'm going to put two on the list here. One is the jersey manufacturer. Their logo, I believe, is on the front left chest of the jersey, but I guess in this day and age, you're going to expect that at this time now. That's gonna happen across the board. The second thing is the team logo, the team that the player is representing. It appears it's going to be in black and white on all the jerseys, and that is to match the division logo, which is on the other shoulder. But again, I feel like I'm being nitpicky on those. I don't know, Shawn, if you have any negatives for these jerseys.
Yeah, and I mean, I think of all the writers, I like All-Star jerseys more than any of them. I own 3 NHL All-Star jerseys for that reason. Because when they're good, they're really good. But when they're bad and mediocre, you never want one. These, to me, just fall into the category of, if I were to get one, Paul Postma is the captain, former Winnipeg Jets depth player for God knows how long. He was there forever. And I think he was part of he went to Boston with Drew Stafford after. So I'd want to get him on a jersey, sure. But, it's the whole thing of, if I'm getting this jersey, I have to get it customized when I get it. It's one of those jerseys. We all know the one where you would never buy it blank, because if it did, it would just sit in your closet, and you wouldn't, every time you were thinking of getting a jersey customized, something else would jump to the front of the line. So I feel like it suffers from that, which is a very weird thing, but I'm sure some listeners can relate to that looking at their collection.
Corey, any negatives for these jerseys?
I mean, yeah, the manufacturer logo being on the front is a little bit, takes a little bit away. I don't mind what you mentioned about the team logos on the shoulders, because I think if they were to, there's some teams with some really different color schemes, and I think that would actually make the jerseys look a little bit worse if you had, say, like a red, white, blue logo on the shoulder of, say, the green jersey. I think having the black and white logos on the shoulders actually is a plus. So yeah, it's very hard. It is nitpicking. Again, maybe that they have the logo on the front of the helmet. I don't know exactly what that was, but I know a lot of teams in Europe have that, whether it's a sponsor logo or whatnot. But yeah, just very nitpicky things about the jersey.
All right, it's time to give our overall ratings. We're going to look at the whole set of 4 jerseys here. We'll give a rating out of 10. And again, because I felt like I was being nitpicky with my negatives, I can't believe it, but for KHL All-Star jerseys, I'm going to throw a 9.5 out of 10 at these. I really can't. I mean, like I said, I had to dig to find any negatives. So this is a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Shawn.
I'll match that 9.5. Make it easy on you.
And Corey.
I personally have it as a 9.25. But yeah, and now, again, just super small details that are maybe take points away from that.
And that gives an average score of 9.42, which for All-Star game jerseys from the KHL, which has been doing an excellent job over the last 3 seasons with their KHL jerseys. But that is extremely impressive as an average score amongst us. But again, for the listeners, this is where we want to hear from you guys. Send us your scores. You can send them on Twitter. You can email them into us. Again, podcast@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. And if you want to see the jerseys we've been talking about, hopefully you've come across them. Hopefully you've already gone to our blog and seen them. But they are on hockeyjerseyconcepts.com, and I will provide a link in the description of this episode. Let's move on to the 2019 World Junior Championships going on right now in Vancouver and Victoria. We're talking about the set of jerseys, and unfortunately, we have a carryover from the 2018 Winter Olympics. Almost every team except for Canada and Kazakhstan are using the Olympic templated jerseys with, I guess you could call it the triangle pattern, sublimated down the sleeve. Canada is using their traditional 2 stripes on the arms, 1 stripe on the hem with the shoulder yokes jersey, and Kazakhstan is using jerseys with giant shoulder yokes and then some trim on the hem, trim design on the hem. So a little bit different there, but we've already beaten to death kind of how across the board the Winter Olympic look is not spectacular. So I thought it'd be interesting for us to go and dig for some positives here. I got an email a few weeks ago that apparently the Everything Sucks act, apparently we're putting on an act, but it's become tiresome with at least one person. So I thought it'd be interesting here if we take a look at these and dig for some positives. So I'll start us off with the Czech Republic. It's not necessarily for the jerseys, but it was nice to see their new national team program used, the new logo used on these jerseys. Shawn, dig in for some positives. You got one with these set of jerseys?
I do, and this might surprise you, given that they were probably one of the worst at the Olympics, but you slap a proper logo on there, and the States look pretty good. I gotta admit.
I'm not sold. I'm not sold on the 3 shades of blue.
I don't mind it per se, because gradient's gradient, and I'm not a huge gradient hater, but maybe just overall as a theme with the U.S. being probably the best example, this proves that the problem with those Olympic jerseys really wasn't the template in most cases. That sort of weird bar thing that they were trying to do that was all spiky, it wasn't terrible. it was the scripts with that. It was the lack of logos with that made it so terrible.
I don't see. I'd have to disagree. I think I can understand that, and I understand that takes away at a lot of the Olympics for jersey lovers when they have to use the non-federation logos. But I really don't think the designs work on a hockey jersey. But we are looking for positives, so we'll mark that down as a positive. Corey, looking for positives here. What do you got?
I don't know if this is going to be a positive, but maybe with the country I'm going to talk about, maybe it's more of being neutral. Switzerland's jerseys don't bother me too much. Maybe it's just because they're fairly basic. There's not too much going on the arms, and the logo on the front's pretty basic. It's just the shield and the cross from the flag. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to be part of the everything sucks act, because I personally do think everything kind of does suck with the jerseys for the most part.
I would have to agree. It's just not, we're digging for positives here. I mean, it's really tough. Another positive I was going to say, but this is hiding the design, is Sweden has kind of turned into the skid here. Like, it's clear that Nike, well, I'm assuming that Nike is forcing this template upon Sweden, who usually is the resistance and doesn't want to accept this stuff. But here they are using this triangle or line pattern, whatever we want to call it. And they go, fine, we'll just kind of build it into the base color of the jersey. So that's another positive for me, that Sweden is hiding the design. And going back to Switzerland, I think if they were the only team to do that design, it would be like, oh, okay, that's what Switzerland's doing this year. But because every team's part of it, it adds to the disappointment. Shawn, is have we dug as far as we can dig, or do you have any more positives?
I think I'm not a huge fan of Canada's set. I definitely just wish they'd scrap the black yoke.
Yeah.
I think that everything else on it's perfectly fine. But then the black jersey comes around. I think that's gorgeous.
I agree.
The black alternate is absolutely gorgeous, and that's where a black Canada jersey belongs, as an alternate. It's something that I think Canadians have embraced. And the Hockey Canada logo doesn't look too out of place, despite the fact that logo's been around since, 1994?
94, 95, somewhere around there, yeah.
It's been around that long, and, this is, I think that, especially considering how well the team's doing, the fact that you introduce an alternate jersey, you have the effect that, at the 2014 Winter Olympics, you had an alternate jersey, and that was memorable in that, and it sold well because of it. So I think that's a good move on Nike's part. And I wish that more teams brought out alternates during these things, not like last year when we had that stupid outdoor game.
There's a lot of anger towards that outdoor game.
With the Buffalo Bills style USA jersey. Yeah, that's where that's coming out of.
Those were just bad.
There's a positive right there. Nobody's doing that. There's none of that.
Corey, any positives left to dig out of this shit heap that is the World Junior jerseys?
Not really. I mean, so many of them are based off of the Winter Olympic jerseys, and my favorite jersey from the Olympics was actually the Olympic athletes from Russia, which was the most plain design you can think of. They didn't have a logo, and yet that managed to be probably the best of the bunch. So if there was a junior athletes from Russia jersey in the World Juniors, then I might have a little bit better things to say.
I think, so we now have to, choosing from the teams who are using this kind of template, and they all kind of use different directions of this kind of triangle or angled line pattern, but it's all the same sort of design. And the teams that are using it are the Czechs, Denmark, Finland, Russia, Switzerland, Slovakia, Sweden, and the USA. So looking at those teams, which team is doing it best? And we'll start with Corey.
I have to pick one, don't I?
You have to. No sitting on the fence on the podcast.
All right. I'll go with what I mentioned earlier, Switzerland, just because it doesn't really bother me that much. There's nothing really positive to say other than I'm not super offended when I look at it.
It's the least objective, and I guess that's what we're looking for here. Shawn, who's your pick for best use of this horrible template?
Finland, by far.
I agree.
They already had double blue in their color scheme. Like, it actually feels natural for them to do this. Just honestly, like you said about a Switzerland camp, it's like if Finland came out with this, I have a feeling we'd be on the podcast going 8 out of 10. Really forward-thinking design here. Works with the Finnish identity. But, overall, I'm really impressed with it. I think that considering Finland's last couple of forays into new jerseys, think back to the World Cup of Hockey or the 2014 Olympics, nothing too spectacular coming from Finland. These are actually an upgrade over both of them definitively, which is something you cannot say about most of the other jerseys that use this template.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on Finland here and I think it's just their color scheme that makes them look best out of the whole group, and that's the only thing positive I have to say about that. Otherwise, the whole template of these angled lines is just awful. But let's give into our instincts here of this terrible template and pick out the team that has done it the worst. And I will start us off, and I will choose the USA because on that blue jersey, and there's 3 to 4 different shades of blue, the US jerseys just have such a chance. They have such an opportunity to look like classic jerseys, and this is definitely not the way to do it. So I'm taking the USA has done this template the worst. Corey, who's the worst?
I was going to say the same thing with the USA. I mean, these ones are slightly better than the Olympic ones because there's a little bit of red on the logo. But yeah, it's just very devoid of red for a USA jersey.
Shawn, who has done this the worst?
It's a two-way tie for me. The Czech Republic's red jersey and Sweden's blue jersey.
Oh, poor Sweden.
But for totally different reasons. For me, the Czech Republic jersey, and again, I like to call this striping pattern the every angle of a falling piece of paper, because that's what it looks like to me. It just looks like somebody took a photo of a piece of paper from every angle as it was falling and sort of put it into one image and slapped that on the arm of a jersey. And while I like the white yoke, really it should have been a gradient from blue to white. It would have looked a lot better. For the Sweden jersey, I just wonder why the hell it's there. On the yellow jersey, I get it; it kind of works. But on the blue jersey, I don't know. It just feels like somebody put these in the washing machine, and that part of the arm got caught in the O-ring between the door and that, and it just sort of rubbed a little bit of the color off.
Good. That's a good description. I like that. Like I mentioned, I personally feel like Sweden is just kind of forced into this, not necessarily something that they want to do, but it's required of them, and so they're begrudgingly accepting the fate here of the template. I would like to note that Kazakhstan has pretty terrible jerseys here. Considering what we saw at the 98 Olympics, which is now going back over 20 years, and just where they've come to today, this is actually a downgrade over the last 20 years. And this is just a giant yoke with a pattern going across the hem. It's an interesting pattern, but why is it not on the arms as well? Or even sublimate it into some sort of shoulder patch? I don't know if it's just a program that doesn't have a lot of money or interest, or if this is actually what they're happy with. I don't know, Shawn, if you have any comments on the Kazakhstan jerseys.
Yeah, what's up with this? I always thought that Kazakhstan's colors were like that bright teal and yellow. What's up with this blue and dull gray?
Yeah.
Really disappointing my man, Nick Antropov.
Yeah, seriously, come on.
I get it. He defected. He married a Canadian woman. He's Canadian now. But come on. You get, these things suck.
It sucks.
Thin hem stripes, script under the logo, no shoulder patch, no arm stripe, garbage. Like, I get it. They're a 1B team, but like Latvia shows up every year looking good. Why can't you be like Latvia?
Great point. Great point there. Corey, any thoughts on these Kazakhstan jerseys?
I don't know. I just think this tournament is one of the just overall ugliest World Juniors I've ever experienced. I don't. There's not really anything positive I can say for most of the jerseys, and yeah, Kazakhstan's jerseys aren't. They're not exempt from my hatred of all jerseys in this tournament.
All right, let's switch to our home country's jerseys here, and we got Canada, and they've come out. They'll be using 3 jerseys for this tournament. They have the red one, and we got the sublimated maple leaf pattern up on the yoke, and that continues on the stripes, which is 2 on the arm and 1 on the hem, very much like the maple leafs, except the stripes are all the same width. White jersey with red stripes, except the maple leaf sublimated pattern only appears on the yokes here, mysteriously disappears from the stripes. And then, of course, they have the black alternate, which we were talking about before, and they really go overboard there with the sublimated maple leaf pattern. Goes on the yokes, down the arms, to the stripes. And again, we have the same striping pattern that we were talking about. The whole jersey is black, and Canada is actually using the font from the 2018 Olympics on those alternate jerseys, as opposed to a standard block font on their red and white jerseys. What can Canada do to improve their jerseys? Shawn?
Very simple. Get rid of the yokes. Keep the maple leaf pattern. Get rid of the yokes and make the maple leaf pattern the same color as the rest of the jersey. Keep the stripes the exact same. And I'm going to say use the Olympic font on all the jerseys. I like it. It looks good. It's a unique thing. And I mean, every so often you get tired of block fonts and you'll come back to the block font, But for this year, why not? You'll look pretty modern and also it'll be memorable. It's like in 98, Canada wore a rounded font. And people tend to think of that a lot. So that'd be my sort of fix-em for that. Maybe tone it down with the black gear, black gloves, black pants, but red helmet.
Corey, any thoughts on the Canada jersey? Are they fine the way they are, or any fixes you would like to see made?
I don't necessarily disagree with Shawn. I think that the yoke, maybe not get rid of the yoke, but it just seems like a very large yoke on the red and the white jersey. Maybe if that was scaled down a little bit. It just seems like there's not a lot of spacing between the yoke and the arm stripes. Maybe if you tone down the yoke a little bit or move the stripes down the arm a little bit, just have a little bit more space there. They're not bad jerseys. They're just minor fixes to them here and there. I like the sublimated patterns. I actually have seen all 3 of them, I believe, in person, and yeah, they're okay. There's just minor things that, like I said, that I would change about them.
Yeah, I think minor tweaks would be best. Again, I would like to see the amount of black toned down. Not a huge fan of large amounts of black on the primary jerseys. It's great on the alternate. I think that's a really nice alternate. But yeah, toning down the black, I think, in some way on the primary jerseys would be nice. But as you guys mentioned, I do like the sublimated maple leaf pattern that's on the shoulders and on the stripes of the red jersey. So that is what we have for you this week. If you want to take a look at those World Junior jerseys, I've provided a link in the description of the episode. So click on that. You can get a look at all of them. You can also just Google IIHF 2019 World Junior. Click on teams. And when you go through the teams, you'll be able to cycle through all of their jerseys. But that is what we have for you this week. Don't forget to check out all our other podcasts going on through the week. We got Fake or Authentic that comes at you on Thursday, and Throwback Throwdown, that's our Saturday episode. On hockeyjerseyconcepts.com right now, we have the Washington Capitals redesign competition, and the entries are due January 11th for that. And we also have the weekly Concept of the Week vote going on the side of the blog. I'd like to thank Shawn and Corey for being on the podcast, and for everyone for listening. We want you guys to get involved. So again, on Twitter @HockeyJC, or email the podcast @hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. Be sure to like, download, subscribe, share the podcast, do whatever you got to do. Spread the word. Let everyone know about the Jersey Nerds podcast. And again, thank you for listening. Goodbye, everyone.